the Madman! Welcome to the first big reveal. 14 new cards coming from the stream as well as from the daily cards that are getting revealed now. Starting with Ironhide Direhorn, Hearthstone's newest 7/7/7 for Druid. Beast, Overkill summon a 5/5 Ironhide Runt because Overkill is pretty new. Quick reminder, Overkill activates when you attack and you kill an enemy minion, which means in the space stats you need to hit something with 6 or less health, and then you get a 5/5. Doesn't matter if the Direhorn dies, if the opponent attacks into the Direhorn and they have minions die to your Direhorn, your Overkill does not trigger. So it doesn't do anything until turn comes out, so it is literally a 7 mana 7/7. There have been no real ramp into like exactly something like this in Hearthstone history before. There's been ramp Druid, but they tended to play cards that are individually good, or things that did things immediately. We're talking about Lich King and stuff like that. Some people have mentioned, hey, the base stats are good at least, but in order for a 7 mana card to be like decent, I would argue that the vanilla stats for a 7 mana card should probably be around 8 and 9. And yes, that does make sense since the Lich King is like an 8 mana 8/8, but it has taunt and also draws you a Lich King card. So I think 7 mana vanilla 8/9 isn't too far to look for. So is it worth trading away like these 3 stats for the Overkill ability? And I would argue no, to some extent. So meh on Direhorn. An interesting Mage minion here. 1 mana 1/1 Daring Fire Eater. Battlecry, your next hero powered this turn deals 2 more damage. So given that you're probably going to play this with your hero power, maybe a better way to visualize the card is 3 mana 1/1 Battlecry deal 3 damage. And is that good enough? By itself it probably wouldn't be good enough, but we have to look at all the synergies. We've got the Spirit for Mage. 2 mana 0/3 Spirit of the Dragonhawk, stealth for 1 turn. Your hero power also targets adjacent minions, which means if you combo it with Daring Fire Eater, you have a 5 mana combo to deal 3 damage to 3 opponents' minions, which are adjacent to each other. That's a lot like Cosmic Anomaly plus Shooting Star, which also, by the way, is 5 mana. This would be more like the control version of it. So is that good? Well, in order to say that, we really want to look into this big payoff. 7 mana 4/4 jnZaneHD, the Dragonhawk. Battlecry, if your hero power dealt 8 damage this game, summon Ragnaros the Firelord. So Ragnaros was a card that was so strong that it got rotated into the Hall of Fame. But now we have it for 1 less mana, and you get a 4/4 with it. That's insane. jnZaneHD is really going to push Odd Mage because it is odd, and your hero power dealing 2 means all you have to do is use your hero power 4 times and then just pretty much play jnZaneHD. Could possibly be done on curve, or maybe a little bit later, and you get a Ragnaros and a 4/4 with it. That's really good. If you are Frostlich Jaina already and you play jnZaneHD, then your Ragnaros is going to immediately deal 8 damage and heal you for 8 also. That's what I call value. It's very clear that Mage has a hero power theme to it. We can even look back to Pyromaniac. Pyromaniac is looking a lot better since Odd Mage is looking good. I look forward to trying out an Odd Mage deck again. But now with jnZaneHD on my side, I think we can make this work. Shaman gets Zentimo. 3 mana 1/3. Whenever you target a minion with a spell, it also targets adjacent ones. Been confirmed that Overload does get multiplied by 3 as a result. Because when you are casting this spell on adjacent minions, you basically get 2 more copies of that spell. So quick cards that are really good with Zentimo would be Zentimo Hex. You get to Hex 3 potentially. Zentimo Tattle Search. 7 mana, deal 12. Heal 12. You do have the possibility of doing some really disgusting unstable evolution out there. This even has some interesting applications in mid-range decks because you could go Zentimo and then Earthenmight Zentimo by placing Zentimo in the middle. You don't even have to buff Zentimo, but it seems like a good one to buff because it's a pretty powerful card. You would get +6/+6 instead of +2/+2 with your Earthenmight. Ooh, lots of interesting ideas for Zentimo. We'll have to see if the core for a Shaman control type deck manages to find itself, and if this card can be alongside Electra. It seems like the two would work well together. Next, A new challenger! Paladin, 7 mana. Discover a 6-cost minion, summon it with Taunt and Divine Shield. So it's similar to Sunwalker, except you will, on average, get a bigger Sunwalker. The exact maths I'm going to be doing in a separate probability video, since I think this is a pretty interesting topic and topical while we're at it. It made me think about just what percentile in terms of high quality minions do you get when you discover anything. And as a reminder, when you discover class cards, the Paladin ones, they come up 4 times as often. The quick math on the average 6 cost right now in standard with quick math is roughly, and I do mean roughly, a 5/5. Overall, I think this card is probably a bit too weak to be run, but worth mentioning just because the Paladin Loa is so powerful. This does discount her by 7 mana. So even if this card is just getting a somewhat like average-ish card, it might be good for the 7 mana discount on the Loa. Warlock's got a theme to it as well. Discard Warlock is back. Starting with Screech! 1 mana, discard your lowest cost card. Deal 2 damage to all minions. Now the question is, would you run this in the control type Warlock when you already have Defile and you have Hellfire? Also, the control Warlock of choice right now seems to be Evenlock. Will Screech be powerful enough to make it so that you don't want to play Evenlock? Will this be the start of a new archetype also? Discard Warlock again. Well, let's take a look at all the discard synergies. Reckless Fluff, 3 mana 2/6 Taunt, Battlecry, discard your lowest cost card. This is a much lower value proposition in terms of mana to stat ratio. This is a 3 mana minion that possibly could cost 4 without the drawback, but isn't that insane at 3. It is worth mentioning though that this seems to be the new Warlock mechanic for this set. Discard your lowest cost card. That could make Clutch of Mother's Abyss much better. And in fact, if you can turn the discard of the lowest cost card into an advantage, then Reckless Fluff could indeed be looking really good. We'll have to see if there are more synergies out there. High Priestess Jacklick is a 4 mana 3/4 legendary, Taunt Lifesteal. Whenever you discard this, add 2 cards of it to your hand. Now 4 mana 3/4 of Taunt and Lifesteal is nearly good enough to be played, if not just good enough to be played. Kinda like Corpse Taker, and Warlocks are the class that likes lifestealing the most. This is a enabler for the discard for sure, though will Jacklick often be the lowest cost card for you to discard? Questionable. The problem with discard lock remains the same. Does it have a better control lock than the best Warlock control deck in the meta right now, which is Evenlock? Does it have a better aggressive / board centric game plan than the best deck right now of that, which is Zoo? And if Disco Warlock doesn't actually serve that purpose, then the cards are just weaker than the current decks, which would mean that it doesn't see play. Given that some of the mechanics of Warlock and Loa don't really seem to synergize with this stuff, we might be in for yet another rough road. And my dreams of 5-star Lakari Sacrifice will still not be bearing fruit. Guardian of Soul, 6 mana 6/6 Battlecry, add 3 random cards you discard this game to your hand. So if you're playing a discard deck, kinda similar to 6 mana 6/6 draw 3, which seems really powerful. Again, the problem though is, do you want to run these discard cards in order to run this payoff card? And though the payoff is high, I'm not entirely sure. It is worth mentioning you can go infinite with this if you discard a Guardian of Souls previously, and your deck naturally wants to discard High Priestess Jacklick, right? So you could go infinite by playing Guardian of Souls and Jacklick every single turn for the rest of the game, potentially. Whether or not a Warlock deck is going to be getting constructed that has a major discard theme is just going to depend on whether or not it looks like it can have a different angle, be in some way better than Evenlock. Warriors got a interesting card, 3 mana 3/2 Smolder Thorn Lancer. Battlecry, if you're holding a dragon, destroy a damaged enemy minion. Now that's a mechanic we haven't seen in a while for Warrior, but they have had previously in Blackrock Mountain this if you're holding a dragon theme. So this mechanic came back. So basically Execute, which comes with an additional 1 mana 3/2. And whenever you bundle cards together, you need to add 1.5 mana worth of value, so Execute plus 3/2 is like 4 mana, or like 3.5 mana, and you add 1.5. So this card should be roughly 5 mana worth of value. And indeed, does look similar to Valspine Slayer. Valspine Slayer, a card that pushes Rogue quite powerfully. And I think it's sufficient to say, if there are more cards that benefit Dragon synergy, then we might actually see Smolderthorn Lancer get some serious play. My wild prediction is that Lancer will be poor in this set, as there's not enough Dragon synergy. Just my thoughts on expectations, because a lot of the cards for Warrior seem to also have things to do with having armor instead of having dragons. So we're just waiting for the Dragon set for Smolderthorn Lancer to get real good. Wild guess, 8.5 months we'll get a dragon-themed expansion. And here we've got some neutral cards, starting with Gurubashi Chicken. Welcome to the new Angry Chicken, 1 mana, 1/1, overkill gain, +5 attack. In fact, they made this look just like the Angry Chicken, as a cute little throwback. So how do you buff Gurubashi Chicken? Well, you need to buff both its attack so it can overkill, as well as the health so it can survive. The problem is at that point, you are wasting quite a lot of resources onto a 1 mana, 1/1. The Gurubashi Chicken I would expect to have about as much play as Angry Chicken. Also a little bit weaker than Angry Chicken because you can usually put on a plus health thing on the Angry Chicken pretty quickly so that it'll survive the Whirlwind effect, which will immediately trigger its Enrage. Unlike Overkill, where you actually have to attack a minion and still survive. That's pretty tough. Waterboy! Get your water here, says the Waterboy. 2 mana, 2/1, Battlecry, your next hero power this turn costs 0. Throwback to the Grand Tournament. In fact, the Mage theme is kind of Inspire focused because it focuses on your hero power. The Waterboy naturally seems like a fit into Mage in particular. What does it look like in Mage? It would basically be 2 mana, 2/1, Battlecry, deal 1 damage. Is that good? No. Indeed, this with any of the hero powers isn't that great. Doesn't refresh the hero power, just makes it cost 0 for the turn. 1 time. You could think of it as a 0 mana 2/1, but that isn't quite good enough for a card that you have to play in concert with your hero power. So, And we end off with a whopper of a card. A real world boss. Oondasta. 9 mana 7/7 rush. Overkill. Summon a beast from your hand. Also a beast herself. The first idea people are going to have with Oondasta is pretty simple. Just put her into Death Rattle Hunter / Recruit Hunter, and then play your Katharina, get your Oondasta. Oondasta kills something, summons the Charged Devil Sword from your hand. Charged Devil Sword can hit a minion on the board or hit face, whichever. This is a very realistic overkill situation, and you can see how powerful Rush and Overkill are combined to each other because it actually is an immediate fast effect then. Other potentially interesting application is you duplicate the Oondasta in your hand with something like Simulacrum, and then you could Oondasta, kill something, get another Oondasta, kill something, get another Oondasta. Oondasta also has a lot of future synergy of a lot of unrevealed cards and revealed cards. All of the Loas are beasts and usually big cards it appears, so Oondasta can kill something and then get your Loa into play, which may or may not be a discount. So yes indeed, what a boss of a card. Those are the cards from the stream, and I'm looking forward to the continuous reveal of many cards every single day from here on out. We're just gonna see more synergies, more cards, and soon you're gonna see my particular card. Gonna be a doozy!